Well, welcome to 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse and a whole new week to screw up. But first, I'd like to officially thank my buddy out there, Dave, for sending me this copy of Night Monster. Thought I had it actually. I got a couple Lugosi compilations and I'm like, what the fuck, where is it? And then this suddenly showed up in the mail as a gift from Dave, as a token of appreciation for what I'm doing here, which I appreciate myself because I hadn't seen the movie, and giving it a second glance gave me a different opinion of it. I mean, like I said, Lugosi is the lead. Him and Lionel Atwill, they're the two big names there. I previously said that Lugosi just hangs around and doesn't do too much, but actually he does. He's the butler, and he's trying to keep tabs on all this stuff. Lionel Atwill is one of the doctors. See, the whole thing is, this rich guy, played by Ralph Morgan, was operated on by a bunch of doctors. And they sort of fucked him up. So he basically has, I think he's missing his legs, he's missing his arms, he has mechanical arms, whatever. So he invites these doctors out to this mansion in swamp territory, where mysteriously, one by one, they are getting knocked off by an unseen entity. And it's not only the doctors. It's this little maid that gets taken out. There's a big chauffeur who basically makes no bones about that he's a sexual predator in this movie, played by Leif Erikson, who went on to be in the original Invaders from Mars and the TV show The High Chaparral. Frank Reicher from King Kong is there as one of the doctors, and one by one the doctors get knocked off. Well, the rich man has this Hindu mystic there who's basically doing something with him to try to help him regain use of his limbs when he doesn't have any limbs. And at one point he conjures up a skeleton holding this box, and the skeleton is dripping blood. Well, every time there's a murder, there seems to be a pool of blood, but the victims are strangled. And one by one, the doctors are all knocked off by this shadowy figure. And all suspicions are leading to the rich guy, who basically shows that he has no arms and no legs. So his sister is being kept in a room because she had sent away for a psychiatrist to prove that she isn't nuts, because she knows the real thing that's going on, and she's being held by one of the servants there. Well, we get to the end of this whole thing where basically everybody's knocked off, and she starts a fire. And this woman and this local writer escape, and they go through the swamp, and they say, well, everything's cool as long as the frogs are croaking. As soon as they say that, the frogs stop croaking. And all of a sudden, you see the crippled guy wandering through the mists with basically new monster hands and new monster feet, and he's going to try to strangle the last two people there. He's shot down by his Hindu mystic, who basically tells the story about how he was trying to help him regain the use of his limbs, but revenge was foremost on the guy's mind because he blamed the doctors for his condition. So, all in all, pretty great whodunit, and those who were really fans of Universal stuff will notice that scenes were lifted from the original Wolfman and Ghost of Frankenstein to fill in for the burning building and the swirling mist and stuff like that. But yeah, that was a good film. But going back to something else, I remember when Animal House was released back in the 70s. And I remember going there the first night, laughing my ass off, and walking out and seeing a couple of my buddies in line, and they're like, how was it? And I said, dude, you'll be back tomorrow night, same as me, because I got to come back and see what I missed. And that was sort of the doorway opening to these teen sex companies, but if that sort of opened the doorway, Porky's kicked it wide the fuck open. Of course, Porky's was done by Bob Clark, who also had done Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, Deranged, and Christmas Story. This is set in the 50s down in Florida. A bunch of horny teens want to get laid, and there's a floating brothel called Porky's, run by a guy named Porky, who was played by Chuck Mitchell. film is filled out by, some teen actors. I don't think any of them really went anywhere, but it's just a great crew because all they're doing is ranking on each other. Alex Karras plays Porky's sheriff's brother. Susan Clark is Sherry Forever, or whatever, or Sherry, whatever the fuck it is. They do a bunch of setups that's hysterical. I mean, some of the stuff they play is crazy, but they go out to Porky's and get ripped off, and one guy gets really pissed off and keeps going back there and basically gets the shit kicked out of him to the point where the last brawl he's in, he's almost dying, punctured lung, shit like that. His brother, played by Art Hindle's a cop, and they want to get even, and they concoct this huge plan to get even and basically trash Porky's. Other things are Kim Cattrall playing this gym teacher, who they call Lassie, and the young gym teacher is trying to ask why, and all this older gym teacher does is tell her to get her up into the equipment room, where she's turned on by the smell of sweaty jocks. It gets crazier and crazier. There's another gym teacher named Beulah Ballbreaker, who is after this one teen, Tommy Turner. And of course there's that scene in the shower where basically he sticks his cock through the fucking drain and she grabs it. She's like this, pulling it and shit. And then they go to the scene in the principal's office where basically you can't keep a straight face through this whole film. Porky's 1 wasn't the end of it. Of course there had to be Porky's 2 the next day, which basically had the boys doing a Shakespeare play which was shut down by the moral majority and the Klan because a Seminole boy was playing Romeo. Well, basically, it has a crooked politician who gets exposed. The KKK are basically stripped naked and have their heads shaved because the whole gymnasium is full of Seminole Indians who are going to basically kick the shit out of these rednecks if they don't shut the fuck up. Really good, sequel, and then there was a third one, Porky's Revenge, which brought back the titular Chuck Mitchell as Porky's. This time he has a gambling riverboat, and he has a daughter who he wants to hook up, and he hooks up with one of the kids that is known as Meat. And you don't have to ask me why if you've seen the movies. So the whole Porky's trilogy was great, and as far as I'm concerned, it just kicked Animal House to the curb because it's that outrageous. But then there was another one I saw, which is another fun one. Me and the missus, back in the 80s, were going to see something, I think it was called, it might have been Terror in the Aisles or something, but it kind of sucked, and we sort of snuck across the way into this film that was just starting called Hollywood Nights. And Hollywood Nights is a car club that hangs out around this drive-in called Tubby's Drive-In, which is about to be razzed the next day. Of course, this is Halloween night, which is special to me also. So this is basically a who's who of up-and-comers, including Tony Danza, Michelle Pfeiffer, Stuart Pankin, Robert Lowe, and some other faces you'd recognize. And it's basically all this hijinks and them trying to get even with the Beverly Hills Association that are running, this whole thing that night and interrupting a pep rally, farting Volare during the pep rally. Whole bunch of crazy shit, and a lot of it I identified with because I was in on the tail end of this whole, custom car and van thing because I tricked out my own van, and my boss actually was in a car club and, worked on his hot rods after the place closed with his buddies. And if you watched Eddie and the Cruisers, that whole scene of the hot rods going across the bridge down into Jersey Shore, that was my boss's hot rod club. And people ask me, how come I didn't get involved in this shit? Well, you know something? When you spend 8 to 10 hours a day pulling cars apart and working on engines, in my spare time, other than fixing my own shit, my wife's shit, that isn't what I wanted to do. It's almost the same thing about, working at Liquidators and staring at porn boxes all day and, yeah, I'm going to go home and pop one in and rub one out. No, we don't do that. I don't bring my work home, usually. So some great, great teen comedies here that have basically inspired all the low-budget ones and the ones that were coming down the road. But my top two, Animal House is a classic, and Animal House is the yardstick. But like I said, I think Porky's extended the yardstick, and so did Hollywood Nights. And those are two of my favorites. And I'm sure, they ran in grindhouses all over the place. Both are available on Blu-ray and definitely worth a look. I didn't see The Dark Side of the Ring with Adrian Adonis yet. For whatever reason, it didn't show up on YouTube, and I don't know what they covered. But I discovered Adrian Adonis when I was watching wrestling on Channel 41 from Los Angeles, California, from the Olympic Auditorium, where he was wrestling as Gorgeous Keith Franks, and he was part of Roddy Piper's contingent, his little army, which consisted of Tank Patton and Professor Tanaka. From there, he went to the AWA and was teamed up with Jesse Ventura. And from there, he went to the WWF back then as a tag team with Jesse Ventura. As far as his fall from grace, the only thing I can remember is he walked out on the company. He was supposed to wrestle Mike Rotundo, and he left. He went to Japan, wanted to come back, but then they stuck that gay gimmick on him, adorable Adrian Adonis. I just saw a piece of an interview with Sabu talking about the car accident in Canada, where basically a van with 4 wrestlers went off. You know, these guys were all drinking. Sabu made no bones about that. A guy named Bearman, the Kelly twins, and Adrian Adonis were in this van that went off basically into a ravine, into a creek. And there was a ring crew following them. And the story is that basically the ring crew robbed them and left them there to die. One of the Kelly twins survived. Adonis drowned. The ring crew was busted because not only did they rob the money that was on these guys because they just got paid, they robbed the jewelry off them too. And Adrian Adonis' wife identified a ring that he always wore. And according to Sabu, these guys are still in jail. It is a tragedy. It is a tragedy what happened to his career, because he just went downhill after this whole, fiasco with the WWE. I'm hoping they air the damn thing. I don't know why they didn't. I've seen everything else on YouTube, but hey, it's like anything else. I don't pay for a lot of streaming services because, 1, I don't have the money, and 2, I'm not going to spend the rest of my life sitting in front of a fucking television. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. And the Crazy Old Man episode will be up Wednesday, so we'll catch you on that one. So until then, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.